Hello, all my joyful creators and all of my Longmire fans. Welcome to part 5 of the Longmire Blanket. My name is Cynthia and I'm going to be your host today, and I am with Cynthia's Joyful Creations. So today we are not going to roll the dice to determine how many rows we're going to do, because we are going to end up adding a total of 10 rows to our blanket. Yes, that is correct. We are going to be adding 10 rows to part 5 of our Longmire blanket. So be sure and lotion your hands up really well so that your hands are nice and hydrated and moisturized, as they are your best tool. And we are going to, in those 10 rows, which will be rows 24 through 33, we are going to be adding a total of 6 colors. So 10 rows, 6 colors. So that is very exciting. So let's get started. So let's roll and see what colors we are going to be introducing to our blanket today. So the next color we're going to bring in is going to be number 6, and that color for me is peach. So here is my peach that I will be bringing in. That's the first time it will have debuted in my blanket, or ours if you're following the numbers. So now this next color that we are going to roll is going to be our accent color, and it is going to appear several times throughout our pattern today. And that is number 11, and number 11 is white. And this is also another color that has not yet debuted on our blanket. And so here is my white that I will be using. The third color that we are going to bring in today is number 3. And now this color has appeared on our blanket once already, and it is the color red for me. As you can see, number 3 is red, or the cherry red. And so here is my cherry red. The fourth color that we're going to bring in today is going to be number 12, and that is purple. And this is my purple. All right. Now, for the last 2 colors that we are going to bring in, I am actually going to roll only 1 die in the hopes that we can try and get some of these smaller colors that we've not been getting. And another reason I'm doing that is, even if I were to roll both 1s, that represents a 2. We would never be able to get, and that's the lowest number that we would ever be able to roll, which would always leave our number 1 out. So to give our number 1 color a chance to appear, we're going to roll just 1 dice, and so we're going to see what we get on that. And we get number 2, so that is minty. So this is the color that I will be bringing in as my 5th color. And then the last color that we're going to bring in today is number 3. And we've already brought that color in, so we need to roll again. And it rolled a 2. We've already brought that color in today, which is the minty. So at this point, we need a 1, 4, or 5. And that's a 3 again. A 3 again. Red really wants to be in this one. 3 again. 3 again. Red, you're already in our blanket. And 1. So we're going to add in number 1. And for me, that is the beige buff. Beige, red gave you a run. All right, which we could have repeated red, but I want to keep it with a very colorful change up. So those are our 6 colors today. And here's a quick look at all the colors that we are introducing today. Our first color is peach. Our accent color is white. Our second color that we'll be adding with the accent color is red. The third color that we'll be adding with the accent color is purple. The fourth one is minty. And the fifth one is buff. So again, whatever color combos came up from your numbers, we will be using the color number 6. We will be using the color number 11 as our accent. The second color will be number 3. The fourth color will be number 12. The fifth color will be number 2. And the sixth color will be number 1. All right, if you've got all your colors ready and your hook and your blanket, let's get started. All right, so here is our blanket so far. And I just love the way this colorway is taken. It is very bright and colorful, definitely looking very Native American. I cannot wait to add this to my living room decor. All right, so we know that we are looking at the right side or the front side of our blanket because our stitch marker is right here peeking at us. So we're going to need to actually be working on the right side when we start our pattern. And when we go to start row 24 and we flip our blanket, we're going to have the back side or the wrong side looking at us. So we need to add one more row before we can start our pattern change up formation so that when we do, we're actually working with the right side or the front side of the blanket facing us. So let's go ahead and add our first color for today, which is number 6. For me, that is peach. And we're going to work that row across the back side or the wrong side so that we can have the right side, the front side facing when we start our pattern change up. All right, so let's go ahead and add our number 6 color. Again, for me, that is peach. And to do that, we're going to come right here into the last single crochet that we made on row 23. And for me, that was navy blue. For you, it was whatever your number 10 color was. And let's go ahead and attach our number 6 color. Again, that's peach for me. And after you have joined your color, then go ahead and turn your blanket so that you're ready to begin row 24. You should have 158 stitches on your blanket across. And so for row 24, we are going to chain 2. And so we are going to yarn over, and into the very next stitch, we are going to create a half double crochet. And I am going to work over my tails as I go so that I can secure them in. And we're going to work a half double crochet into the next stitch, and we're going to work half double crochets all the way across this row. And you just work as many half double crochets as you feel you need to secure those ends in. If you choose not to secure them in as you go, you can just push them to the back and weave them in later. And I'm just going to do a couple more half double crochets here to secure these tails in, and then I'm going to snip off what is left, and I think that that is good enough. So I'm going to finish with this half double crochet, and I'm going to cut my remaining tails. Before I do, I want to make sure that they're nice and tugged, but not too tight that they change the formation of my stitches. And then I'm going to grab my scissors, and I'm just going to trim those tails off. And then we're just going to keep working half double crochets all the way across this row Again, you will have 158 half double crochets when you get to the end. So go ahead and I will meet up with you at the very end of row 24. So we are at the end of row 24. We've added 158 half double crochets in the colorway number 6, which on my color chart is peach. And I have to just stop and take a minute. For leaving our colors up to chance, I couldn't ask for a better colorway. I am absolutely in love with the way these colors are just coming out. So we're at the end. Let's go ahead and fasten off this color. And I'm gonna find my scissors. Oh, my blanket's on top of them. And just snip me off a tail there. And then we will be ready to add our accent color. And again, this accent color is going to appear several times throughout the blanket. And I am using white. And so we are just going to go ahead and get that attached. Let me create my slip knot. And we're going to come right here in the very top of our last half double crochet, and we're going to join our color. Again, you can work your tails in as you go, or you can push them to the back and work them in later, whichever you prefer. All right. And so for the next row, we just need to chain 1. And we're going to turn our work. And we're going to stop and take a look just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. We are starting row 25. Your stitch marker should be looking at you. That is what you want. So you want to make sure you are starting an odd row. We are. Our project is front facing, right side facing, however you like the terminology. And for this row, we are going to work a single crochet all the way across the row. And we're going to start with the very first stitch right here that we put our join in. Let me slide this down a little bit. So we're going to make our very first single crochet right here in the very same stitch as our join. And again, I'm working over the tops of my tails so I can secure them in. And we're going to work a single crochet into the next, a single crochet into the next, and we're going to work single crochets all the way across. Again, this row and every other row going forward for the remainder of this pattern change up will be our number 11 color, which is for me white, and it will be our accent rows. So every other row will end up being our accent row. And I believe that I have worked enough single crochets to secure those tails in. So I'm going to go ahead and stop a minute, give my tails a nice tug so there's none peeking out anywhere. And I'm just going to double check. And I'm going to go ahead and snip those tails off so those tails are secured in. I do not have to worry about them anymore. And then we're just going to continue working single crochets down this entire row for row 25. Again, we will have 158 single crochets at the end of this row. So I will meet up with you at the end of row 25 with 158 single crochets, and I'll tell you what we need to do to move on to the next row. So here is our colorway so far. I'm just absolutely loving the way this is coming together. All right, so we are going to go ahead and fasten off our accent color, and we're going to clip a little bit of a tail here and tighten that down. And now we're going to add the first color of our pattern from the accent color. So remember, the accent color is going to appear, this white, which is your number 11, is going to appear several times throughout this pattern change up. The first color that we're going to put into this pattern change up is our color number 3, and for me that is bright cherry red. So let's go ahead and join our color and get it on. And again, just join your color however you feel comfortable and how you're accustomed to doing that. And we're going to go ahead and turn our work. So the pattern or pattern stitch that we are going to create today is called the wavelength, and it is done in a multiple of 14 plus 2. Now 14 will go into 158 stitches 11 times, giving you a count of 154. With your plus 2, it takes you to 156. Now, we have 158 stitches. So that means we have 2 additional stitches from the pattern. So we're going to just alter the pattern a little bit with 1 stitch on each end of our blanket. It's not going to make a difference. It's not going to change it. It's not going to make it look funky. But that way it will adapt to the number of stitches that we have on our blanket. So to get started, we are going to chain 1, and this represents our turning chain. And we're going to come right here into the same stitch as our join, and we're going to work a single crochet. We're going to work a single crochet into the next stitch. Now, in the wavelength pattern or stitch, that's where you would stop with your single crochets, and I'm just kind of securing my colors down here. But because we have 1 extra stitch on each end, we're going to create a single crochet right into the 3rd stitch. And now we're going to begin creating our climb, so to speak, for our wavelength. And we're going to start with a half double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So work 1 half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Now we're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So 1 double crochet in this stitch, and then move into the next stitch and creating a double crochet. So at this point you should have, in each stitch, you should have 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. And the 4th stitch, you should have a half double crochet, 5th stitch, a half double crochet, and the 6th and 7th stitch, a double crochet. So after you have 3 singles, 2 half doubles, 2 double crochets, we are now going to work a triple crochet into the next 3. And to do that, you yarn over twice, you insert your hook, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through the first 2, yarn over and pull through the next 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2. And that creates a triple or treble crochet, however you want to call it. All right, we're going to do 2 more of those so that we will have a total of 3. And when we finish our 3rd one, this has created the peak of our wave. Whoops, needed to yarn over twice in the beginning, and then pull through the first 2, pull through the next 2, and pull through the last 2. So now we have 3 single crochets, 2 half doubles, 2 doubles, and 3 triples. All right, and I'm going to cut off my tails here because I have weaved that in far enough. And now we're going to do the descending part of our wave, or the decreasing, however you want to call it. I like to call it the descending. And we're just going to repeat what we did on this side, but going backwards. So in the next stitch, we're going to create a double crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to create a double crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to create a half double crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to create a half double crochet. And in the next stitch, we're going to create a single crochet. And the next stitch, we're going to create a single crochet. And the next stitch, a single crochet. And that completes our first wave. Okay? Now let's work another one together. So we have our single crochets here. So our next stitch is going to be a half double crochet. So we're going to work 2 half double crochets. And then in the next 2 stitches, we're going to work a double crochet in each of them. And in the next stitch, we're going to, in the next 3 stitches, we're going to work a triple crochet in each of them. And that's our first one. And then in the next stitch, we'll create our second triple crochet. And in the next one, we're going to create our third. And remember to yarn over twice before you insert the hook into your stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and yarn over and pull through the last 2. So now we're at the peak of our wave. You can see how that's really starting to create that wave effect. And now let's descend down this side of our wave. And we're going to do that by working a double crochet into the next stitch. And we're going to repeat that by putting a double crochet into the next stitch. And now we're going to put a half double crochet into the next stitch, a half double crochet into the next stitch. And now we are going to do 3 single crochets over the next 3 stitches, putting a single crochet in each stitch. And you have now successfully completed 2 waves. See how pretty that is? All right, so let's create one more together. So we already have our single crochets. So now we're going to start with our half double. So we're going to put a half double crochet into the next stitch, a half double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, a triple crochet into the next. Don't forget to yarn over twice. A triple into the next stitch, a triple into the next stitch, and now we're going to descend. We're at the peak, we're going to descend. And we're going to do that by working a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, a half double into the next stitch, a half double crochet into the next stitch, and a single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, and 3. And we have successfully created 3 waves. All right, I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to leave you to finish up the last 7 by yourself. All right, so we've got our single crochets already. So we're going to go right into the next stitch with a half double crochet. Next stitch with a half double crochet. And after we've worked 2 half double crochets, 1 in each stitch, we're now going to work a double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So we'll have 2 double crochets, and there's 1. Go into the next stitch, and there's the second one. Now over the next 3 stitches, we're going to work a triple crochet in each of those. We're going to yarn over twice, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through the first 2, pull through the next 2, and pull through the last 2. That's our first triple, and we're going to do that 2 more times. And here is our second one, and we're going to do it 1 more time, and here is our third one. And now we're going to descend. We're going to work a double crochet into the next 2 stitches. There's 1, and go into the next stitch and work our second double crochet. And we're going to go into the next stitch and work a half double crochet. And into the next stitch, we're going to work our second half double crochet. Then we're going to work a single crochet, 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. And there we go. We have completed 1 more wave. So go ahead and finish that up all the way until you get to the end. After you have completed the last wave, I will meet up with you at the last couple of stitches, and we'll finish those off together to go ahead and end row 26 together. So we are at the end of our last little wave here. You should have finished with your 3 single crochets in the end, and that leaves 1 stitch remaining. And if you'll remember, our blanket was 2 stitches extra, so we added a extra single crochet at the beginning, and so that's what we need to do in this very last stitch, is add 1 more single crochet. So we're going to work a single crochet into that very last stitch. And this is what our wave is starting to look like. And I apologize, my lighting is working kind of funny. So this is what we've got so far. You should have a total of 11 waves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, so now it is time to fasten this off. I've already chained 1 to fasten off, and we're going to bring our accent color back. Which is our number 11. And for me, that is in the colorway white. And I'm going to create my slip knot to join. And we're going to come right here in this very last single crochet that we made and join our color however you feel comfortable joining your colors. And for me, since I used a slip knot, I'm going to chain 1 to secure it on. And then we're going to chain 1 for our turning chain. And then we're going to go ahead and turn our work. We are beginning row 27. So you should have, your project should be right face. There's my stitch marker, or the right side, however you want to call it. And for this row, again, this is our accent color. We will do just like we did on row 25. I'm grabbing my tails around because I'm going to work them in as I go. And we will be just creating single crochets all the way across, starting with the stitch that we did our join in. We're going to go right into that and make our first single crochet. And then we're going to work single crochets all the way across the row. And I'm going to work enough to secure my tails in. Once I feel like they're secured, I will go ahead and clip off the remaining. And that will take care of my tails. Yep, I didn't go under both loops. Definitely want to make sure we're going under both loops. I'm going to tighten that one down a little bit. It was a very loose stitch. And so I'm just going to work a couple more single crochets to secure in those tails. And one more should do it. And then I'm going to give my tails a little bit of a tug to make sure that they're smoothly underneath those stitches. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the excess. And then we're just going to continue making single crochets all the way down this row. Again, you will have 158 single crochets at the end of this row. So go ahead and work your single crochets all the way down row 27, and I will meet up with you at the very end, and then we'll look at what we need to do to continue on to row 28. And you're just working single crochets in all of those stitches. And let me just show you real quick what this is starting to create as we've worked over our first wave. So you can see how that's creating that pattern. All right, I'll meet up with you at the end of the row. So here we are at the end of row 27. And you should have 158 single crochets. And again, that was using your accent color. And so let's go ahead and get ready to begin row 28. I'm going to chain one to fasten off my color, snip a tail, and we're going to add the next color. And that again was color number 12. For me, that is a purple. And create my little slip knot and join my color right here in this very last single crochet that we made. And we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and turn our work. Oh, that looks so pretty. All right, now we're going to be creating a triple crochet in these next couple stitches. Normally for a triple crochet to get the height, let me pull this down into the camera here. Our blanket is starting to get some length to it. All right, to get the triple crochet height, you would normally do a chain 4, but we're going to do a chain 3 so that it will help try to keep a nice clean edge for us. And so this chain 3 is going to count as our first triple crochet. And so as you can see, we need to put the peak of our next wave right here in this dip part from the previous row, and then we'll do our thin part of the wave over the peak of this wave here. So we're going to kind of just be more or less alternating our wave from the first wave that we did. And you'll see what I mean as we get some done. So let's go ahead and into the very next stitch, we're going to work a triple crochet. And because we have an extra stitch on the end of our rows, we're going to work one additional triple crochet. So counting our chain 3, that gives us 3 triple crochets right here. Okay, let me get some extra yarn pulled out of my skein here. All right, so we have our first 3 treble crochets. Our chain 3 counted as our first one, and then we made 2 right here, 1, 2, and we're actually doing the descend of our wave. So our next stitch is going to be a double crochet, and the next stitch is going to be a double crochet, and the next stitch is going to be a half double crochet, and the next stitch is a half double crochet. And I've worked my tails in pretty good at this point, so I'm just going to give them a slight little tug and make sure they're nice and tight and smooth underneath the stitches. And then I'm going to go ahead and trim off my tails. And now we're going to work our 3 single crochets. And so just to kind of give you a checkpoint to make sure each time that you are right where you need to be, your 3 single crochets are going to go directly over the tops of your triple crochets from 2 rows below. So you know you've got your accent row here of single crochets, but then in this wave here are the 3 treble crochets, 1, 2, and 3. Your single crochet should be right over them, and if you kind of really look at them, they're kind of like almost in between, but nonetheless they need to fall right here in this little section over those triple crochets. So we're going to work our 3 single crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And so when you come back and you look, those 3 single crochets are falling over those triples. Okay? All right, so now we're going to start our ascend on our next wave, and to do that, we're going to work a half double crochet, and we're going to go into the next stitch and work a half double crochet, and in the next stitch we're going to work a double crochet, and in the next stitch we're going to work a double crochet. And then in the next 3 stitches, we're going to work our triple crochet. So we're going to yarn over twice, and we're going to make our first triple, and we're going to yarn over twice for the next one and work our second triple, and we're going to yarn over twice and make our third triple. Now, before we start the descend on this wave, I want to show you another checkpoint. So just like over here, your 3 single crochets were over your 3 trebles. Over here, your 3 trebles should be falling over your 3 singles in the previous wave. So those are just kind of checkpoints that you can use for yourself. So to continue with that decrease, we're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, a half double into the next, a half double into the next, and then we're going to work our 3 single crochets. And again, you can use your checkpoint to make sure that they're going over your trebles, and they are. So here's our first single, our second single, and our third single. All right, and now we're going to start the ascend for the next wave. And we're going to do that by working a half double crochet, And we're going to work a half double crochet into the next stitch, and into the next stitch we're going to work a double, and into the next stitch we're going to work a double, and then in the next 3 stitches we're going to work our trebles. And as you can tell, those are our 3 single crochets, so we're in line. You want to make sure that you are not adding any extra stitches, and so those little checkpoints will help you just make sure you're creating the tip of your waves and the end of your waves where you should be by using those triples and those single crochets as checkpoints. So after making your 3 triple crochets, we're going to descend with a double crochet, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. And we're going to do a half double crochet, 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. And then to complete our descend, we're going to work 3 single crochets, and again we're going to check point and make sure that they're falling over our triples, and they are. And here's our first single crochet, our second single crochet, and our third single crochet. I'm going to work one more wave with you. And so we're going to start with a half double crochet into the next stitch, a half double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, and now we've come to our 3 triples, and we're going to make sure they're falling on top of the single crochets from the previous wave, and they are. So we're going to yarn over twice, insert our hook, yarn over, pull through the first 2, pull through the next 2, and pull through the last 2. That's our first treble, and here's our second. And we're going to create one more, making our third. And so we are at the peak of our wave. And now we're going to start the descend with a double crochet into the next stitch, a double crochet into the next stitch, and a half double crochet into the next stitch, half double crochet into the next, and then a single crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And we're also going to use our check point and make sure that those are falling over our triples from the row before, or the wave before, and they are. So that is how that wave, and we're just going to keep on working that same repeat all the way down to the end of the row. And when you get down to the end, at the end of your last wave, I will meet back up with you. So we are at the end of the last wave that we created, and that leaves us with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stitches remaining for this row. So to finish row 28, we're going to, and we just finished the last wave, so we're going to start the ascending part of the next wave. And we're going to do that with a half double crochet and another half double crochet, and we're going to do a double crochet and another double crochet, and then we're going to do a triple, and we're going to do another triple, and we're going to do a third triple, and of course that leaves us with 1 stitch remaining. This is the extra stitch for our blanket count. So to keep it symmetrical, we're going to do a double in that last stitch, and that will complete the end of row 28. and you are still maintaining a stitch count across your blanket of 158. So let's go ahead and fasten that color off. And we're going to join our accent color again. And we're joining right in the top of this last double crochet that we just made. After you've joined your yarn, before you turn your blanket, let's count our waves to make sure we still have 11 waves. Now, this first wave that we have on here is only half of a wave, and it's descending. So we're not going to count this just yet, but keep it in mind. And let's count going across. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now we're back at the end of our blanket with half of a wave, and it's ascending. So if we take the descending at the beginning and the ascending at the end here, that creates our 11th wave. So we are definitely still on track. All right, we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. And we're ready to begin row 29. Row 29, row 30, row 31, and row 32 are going to be a repeat of rows 25, 26, 27, and 28. The only difference is on row 30, you will introduce your next color, which is number 2. So whatever your number 2 is, mine is minty. And on row 32, you are going to end, or do that row, in your number 1 color, which for me is the buff. And then the very last row, the 10th row that we're adding today, is going to be your accent row, and it's just a single crochet across using your accent color of, for me it's white, whatever your number 11 color is. And that will finish the 10 rows that we are adding to our blanket today. So go ahead and complete the next 5 rows, alternating again your waves. So you're going to repeat rows 25 through 28, and once you've done that, you're then going to add an additional row of single crochets as an accent to finish off your wave. And I will meet back up with you when you get there. So here we are at the end of our 10th rows. We have added 1, and then the white row, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 rows. So we have gone from row 24, and we're ending with row 33. Love, love, love how this has turned out. Like, I couldn't have put these colors together better. And when you just look at the whole blanket as a whole, it is just coming together with such beautiful, rich colors. Just love the colorway. So this is the end of part 5. I hope that you have enjoyed this special wavelength stitch that we have added to the blanket, giving it just such a deep, rich texture and depth to it. Thank you for joining me for part 5 of the Longmire Blanket. My name is Cynthia, and I have been your host today, and I am with Cynthia's Joyful Creations. And I look forward to coming back with you and beginning part 6. And until then, be joyful, stay crafty in your own way, and make your own joyful creations. Bye.